Hey everyone, and welcome back to That 90s Pod. If you're loving these trips back in time with us, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button and tell your friends who are obsessed with all things 90s to join us too. All right, get ready to rewind to 1999 because today we're diving deep into Christina Aguilera's Genie in a Bottle.
Genie in a Bottle. It wasn't just a song.
It was a cultural phenomenon.
Okay, so let's unpack this.
It's 1999, teen pop is exploding, Britney Backstreet Boys, NSYNC are ruling the charts. What was it about Genie in a Bottle that made it stand out, that made it capture this moment in time?
Well, to understand that, you have to look at the music scene back then. It was this fascinating blend of nostalgia and innovation. Think about it. We had the rise of the internet changing how we access music, and MTV was at its peak, making music videos almost as important as the songs themselves.
So true, and MTV definitely played a huge role in the success of Genie in a Bottle. That blue crop top, those dance moves, David LaChapelle's iconic direction. It was a visual feast.
But before we get lost in the visuals, let's rewind to the song itself. Released on June 22, 1999, as the lead single from Christina's debut album, it was written by David Frank and Steve Kipner, two incredibly talented songwriters.
And while it definitely fit into the teen pop sound, Christina brought something different to the table. Even back then, you could hear the raw talent, the vocal power that set her apart from other teen pop stars.
Right, and it wasn't just her vocals, there was a maturity to the lyrics that was unusual for teen pop at the time. It wasn't just about puppy love. This song explored themes of longing desire and that struggle for genuine connection, that feeling of wanting someone to see you for who you really are.
It was like she was singing about things teenagers were actually feeling but no one else was talking about. Do you think that's why it resonated so deeply with young listeners?
Absolutely. I think it tapped into a deeper emotional landscape that many young people were navigating at the time. Remember, the late 90s were a time of significant societal shifts, evolving gender roles. Young people finding their voices and asserting their identities. Genie in a Bottle captured that yearning for something real amidst all the change.
I see what you mean. It wasn't just about catchy hooks. It was about real emotions. Speaking of those catchy hooks, though, this song had one for the ages. It spent 5 weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, and it was a massive hit globally.
It really was a global phenomenon. I remember the first time I heard it, I was with a group of friends, and it was like the entire room was electrified. Everyone was singing along. It was this instant connection, this shared experience of pure joy. It really highlights how music can become intertwined with our personal memories.
It's amazing how a song can transport you back to a specific time and place. And before we continue down memory lane, just a quick reminder to our amazing listeners, if you're enjoying this deep dive into Genie in a Bottle, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share the podcast with your friends who love 90s music. We appreciate your support.
Now back to Christina, Genie in a Bottle wasn't just a hit, it was a launching pad for her incredible career.
Absolutely. And not only that, but it also set a precedent for future female pop artists.
Think about it. The song showed the power of combining strong vocals with captivating visuals, something that artists like Lady Gaga and Rihanna would later elevate to an art form.
It's like Christina paved the way for these powerful, multifaceted female artists to own their narratives, their sexuality, their artistry.
Exactly. It wasn't just about being a pop star. It was about being an artist who could express desire and vulnerability without compromising your integrity. And that was a game changer.
It totally was. And let's not forget, Genie in a Bottle also had a ripple effect on pop music as a whole. It sparked a trend of songs with catchy hooks, but also explored deeper emotional themes.
It's fascinating how one song could have such a lasting impact. And it's not just the music, it's the cultural impact, too. Those themes of empowerment and self-discovery we talked about played a huge role in shaping the identity of millennials and Gen Z.
It really makes you think about how much influence a song can have, right? And speaking of the song's influence, let's talk about Christina's vocals. She was only 18 when she recorded this. What was it about her voice that stood out in the teen pop landscape of 1999?
It was her control. Many pop singers at the time, even the incredibly talented ones, focused primarily on youthful energy and catchy melodies. But Christina brought this almost jazzy understanding of her voice to the table. Listen to the way she bends notes in the chorus. That melisma, it hinted at a vocal maturity beyond her years.
So it's not just power, but the way she uses it.
Exactly. And it's interesting because that control, that deliberate choice in her delivery mirrors the song's theme of taking ownership of her desire. You hear it in her voice before you even grasp the lyrics.
Wow, I never thought about it that way. That's a great point. And do you see that influencing later artists?
Absolutely. You can hear echoes of that vocal control in artists like Ariana Grande, who also has that impressive technical mastery, or even Billie Eilish, who flips it and uses her control to convey vulnerability rather than just power. I think those seeds were planted in part by Christina's approach on Genie in a Bottle.
That's fascinating. It really shows how influential this song was. And it wasn't just about her vocals, right? The song also sparked some controversy. Some people took issue with the lyrics, which led to discussions about the sexualization of young female artists.
It's true, Genie in a Bottle wasn't without its critics, but Christina's navigation of that controversy actually helped solidify her image as a strong, independent artist who wouldn't be dictated to. It showed that she was willing to push boundaries and challenge conventional norms.
And then there's that music video, directed by David LaChapelle. The vibrant colors, the blend of pop art and fantasy, it was truly groundbreaking. It definitely influenced the visual style of many artists in the years that followed.
The video for Genie in a Bottle was a visual masterpiece. It perfectly captured the energy of the song and added another layer to the narrative. It wasn't just a promotional tool, it was a piece of art that pushed creative boundaries.
I totally agree. It's like Genie in a Bottle was this catalyst for change, not just in music, but in visual storytelling as well. It pushed boundaries and challenged conventions. It really left its mark on pop culture history.
It absolutely did. And that's what makes this song so fascinating to revisit all these years later. It wasn't just a hit, it was a moment in time that continues to resonate with us.
So true. We've covered so much ground already, but I feel like we've only scratched the surface of this fascinating topic.
I agree. There's always more to uncover and explore.
Okay, before we move on, let's quickly touch on something we mentioned earlier, Christina's influence on other artists. We talk about her vocal control and how that might have influenced singers like Ariana Grande and Billie Eilish. But how about her impact on female artists in general? How did Genie in a Bottle help shape the landscape for future generations of women in pop music?
That's a great question, and I think it's important to acknowledge the context of the time. In the late 90s, pop music was heavily dominated by male artists and producers. Female artists, especially in the teen pop genre, were often marketed in a very specific way. They were expected to be innocent, sweet, and non-threatening.
You're right, there was definitely a formula for female pop stars back then. And Christina kind of broke the mold, didn't she?
She did. With Genie in a Bottle, Christina presented a different kind of female pop star, one who was confident, assertive, and comfortable expressing her desire. This wasn't about being overtly provocative. It was about owning her sexuality and her power. And that's a very powerful message, especially for young women at the time.
So she wasn't just singing about wanting someone to rub her the right way. She was actually challenging the way female artists were perceived and treated in the industry.
Exactly. And that paved the way for other female artists to be more authentic and expressive in their music. It gave them permission to be more than just pretty faces singing catchy tunes.
I see what you mean. It's like she showed the world that women in pop music could be complex, multidimensional beings who could sing about their desires and vulnerabilities without being labeled or put in a box.
Precisely. And that was a huge step forward for female artists.
That's amazing.
Mm.
It's crazy to think how one song could have such a profound effect on an entire generation of artists.
It is, and it's a testament to Christina's talent and her vision. She didn't just want to be another pop star, she wanted to change the game.
And she definitely did that.
Yeah.
All right, we've talked a lot about Christina's impact on other artists, but let's shift gears a bit and talk about the song's legacy. Genie in a Bottle isn't just a time capsule of 90s nostalgia. What's the bigger picture here? What makes this song so enduring?
It's so much more than that. Genie in a Bottle is a testament to Christina's talent, her impact on the music industry, and how one song can capture a cultural moment. It's a song that continues to resonate with listeners of all ages, even decades later.
Okay, so let's break down the song's legacy. What are the key takeaways for listeners?
Well, first and foremost, Genie in a Bottle proved that Christina Aguilera was a force to be reckoned with. It showcased her incredible vocal range and control, setting her apart from many of her contemporaries.
Oh, absolutely. Those vocals, the charisma, the stage presence. She was a star from the get-go. And it wasn't just about her voice. She brought this maturity to teen pop that was refreshing and relatable.
You're right. Genie in a Bottle tackled themes of desire and vulnerability in a way that resonated with young listeners, especially young women.
It was like she was giving voice to those unspoken feelings and desires, which was incredibly powerful.
It really was. The song empowered young women to embrace their sexuality and express their emotions without shame.
And it challenged the traditional narrative of female pop stars being purely innocent and passive.
Absolutely. Christina showed that women could be both strong and vulnerable, desirable and in control.
It's amazing to think how this one song helped shift the landscape of pop music.
It really did. Genie in a Bottle set a precedent for future female artists to be more authentic and expressive in their music.
We see that influence in artists like Beyoncé, Lady Gaga, Rihanna.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They all carry that torch of female empowerment and artistic freedom that Christina helped ignite.
And it's not just about individual artists. Genie in a Bottle had a broader impact on pop music as a genre.
That's right. The song's success proved that pop music could be both catchy and meaningful. It opened the door for more pop songs to explore complex themes without sacrificing commercial appeal.
And that trend continues today. We see artists like Billie Eilish, Olivia Rodrigo, and Dua Lipa tackling important issues in their music while still topping the charts.
It's like Genie in a Bottle showed the world that pop music can be a powerful tool for self-expression and social commentary. It's not just about mindless entertainment, it can spark conversations and challenge norms.
And that's a legacy worth celebrating.
Absolutely. Genie in a Bottle is a testament to the enduring power of pop music and its ability to shape culture. It's a reminder of the power of music to connect us, inspire us, and leave a lasting impact on the world.
So here we are over 2 decades later, and the song is still relevant and influential.
It's amazing how some songs just transcend time and become cultural touchstones. They capture a moment, a feeling, an entire generation, and Genie in a Bottle is definitely one of those songs.
Before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a little food for thought. We've talked a lot about the impact of Genie in a Bottle, but I'm curious to hear from our listeners. How do you think pop music has evolved since the late 90s? What themes and trends do you see continuing today? What's changed? What's stayed the same?
That's a fantastic question. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Head over to our social media pages and let us know. We're always up for a good discussion about the evolution of pop music. And speaking of good discussions and all things 90s, if you're loving this deep dive, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tell your friends to join us here on That 90s Pod for even more trips back in time.
We love exploring these iconic moments in music history with you all. All right, back to the legacy of Genie in a Bottle. One thing that really strikes me is how the song, despite its seemingly simple premise, managed to spark conversations about female sexuality and empowerment.
It's true, and I think that speaks to the power of pop music to address complex issues in a way that's accessible and relatable.
Right. It's not always about being overtly political or preachy. Sometimes it's about expressing a feeling or telling a story that resonates with people on a personal level.
Exactly. And Genie in a Bottle did that brilliantly. It tapped into the desires and anxieties of a generation, and it did so with a catchy melody and a memorable hook. That's the magic of pop music. It can make you think and feel at the same time.
I totally agree. And that's what makes this song so timeless. It's not just a product of its time. It's a song that continues to speak to us today. It reminds us of the power of music to connect us, to challenge us, and to inspire us.
Well said. And it's a reminder that even seemingly simple pop songs can have a profound impact on culture and society.
Absolutely.
All right,
Genie in a Bottle is a testament to that.
It really is.
Okay, so we've talked about the song's legacy, its impact on the music industry, and its enduring appeal. But let's get back to the music itself for a moment. One thing I've always loved about Genie in a Bottle is its production. It's got this really cool blend of pop R&B and even a hint of Latin influence. What are your thoughts on the song's musicality?
It's a brilliant production. The song is produced by the Swedish duo Max Martin and Shellaback, who are known for their ability to craft incredibly catchy and innovative pop hits.
They're like the hit-making dream team.
Exactly. And with Genie in a Bottle, they really created something special. The song has this infectious groove driven by a pulsing bass line and layered with shimmering synth and swirling vocal harmonies. It's a perfect example of late 90s pop production at its finest.
I love how you described it. It's like you can hear all those elements working together to create this sonic tapestry.
That's a great way to put it. It's a tapestry of sound that's both familiar and fresh. It's got those classic pop elements, a catchy melody, a driving beat, but it also has these subtle nuances that make it stand out.
Like the Latin-inspired guitar riff in the bridge.
Exactly. That little touch adds a layer of warmth and sensuality to the song. It's unexpected, but it works perfectly.
It's those little details that make the song so interesting to listen to even after all these years. It's not just a 3-minute pop song. It's a carefully crafted piece of music that reveals new layers with each listen.
I couldn't agree more, and that's what makes Genie in a Bottle such a classic. It's a song that's both timeless and innovative. It captured the sound of a generation, but it also pushed the boundaries of pop music.
It's like it was ahead of its time in a way.
I think you're right. It had this futuristic quality that hinted at the direction pop music would take in the years to come.
That's fascinating. So in a way, Genie in a Bottle wasn't just a hit song. It was a glimpse into the future of pop music.
I think so. It foreshadowed the rise of female pop stars who would dominate the charts in the 2000s and beyond. It also foreshadowed the increasing globalization of pop music, with artists from all over the world finding success on the international stage.
Wow, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive. We've talked about the song's cultural impact, Christina's artistry, the production, the legacy. It's amazing how much there is to say about this one song.
It's a testament to the song's power and its enduring appeal. It's a song that continues to fascinate and inspire us, even after all these years.
I couldn't agree more. But before we get too carried away with our analysis, let's take a step back and think about what this all means for our listeners. Why should they care about Genie in a Bottle in 2025? What can we learn from this song all these years later?
I think it shows us that some things never really go out of style, like that yearning for connection, the desire to be seen and understood. And Genie in a Bottle taps into those universal feelings in a way that transcends time.
That's a great point. And it also reminds us of the power of music to transport us back to certain moments in our lives.
Absolutely. I bet everyone listening can remember the first time they heard Genie in a Bottle, who they were with.
Oh, yeah. Totally takes you right back to those carefree days, doesn't it?
Exactly. And even if the world has changed a lot since 1999, those core emotions, those experiences of youth, they still resonate.
They really do. So maybe that's why we keep coming back to these songs, these artists. They remind us of who we were and who we are.
That's beautifully put. And I think Genie in a Bottle also serves as a reminder that it's okay to be bold, to be confident, to own your desires.
Especially for young women.
Exactly. Christina was a trailblazer in that regard, and her influence can still be felt today.
It can. And it's not just about sexuality. It's about being true to yourself, expressing your individuality, and not being afraid to stand out.
I think that's a really important message, especially in today's world where there's so much pressure to conform.
So true.
Yeah.
So in a way, Genie in a Bottle is more than just a song. It's a statement. It's an anthem for self-acceptance and empowerment.
It is. And it's a song that continues to inspire and empower people all over the world.
And that's pretty amazing for a song about a genie in a bottle.
You know, what's funny is that the song almost didn't happen.
Really?
Yeah, the songwriters originally offered it to a few other artists, but they all turned it down.
I can't imagine anyone else singing this song. It's so quintessentially Christina.
I know, right? It's hard to imagine anyone else capturing that blend of power, vulnerability, and playfulness that she brings to it.
Well, thank goodness she said yes.
Seriously, pop music history wouldn't be the same without Genie in a Bottle.
Absolutely. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground today. From the song's cultural impact, to Christina's incredible artistry, to the legacy of Genie in a Bottle.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It really has. And I want to thank you for sharing your insights with us today.
It's been a pleasure.
And of course, we want to thank all of our amazing listeners for joining us on this trip back in time. If you enjoyed this deep dive on Genie in a Bottle, be sure to subscribe to that 90s pod and tell your friends to join us for more 90s goodness.
And be sure to follow us on social media for even more 90s content. We love connecting with you all.
Thanks again for tuning in, everyone. Until next time, keep those 90s vibes alive.